Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one word conversations. Um, as you can see, I'm very colorful today. I don't know, I just felt colorful. It's in Greenville, South Carolina. The sun is not out, so I don't know if it's going to rain or something. And sometimes I try to counter that. And sometimes within the conversations that I'm having, there's a part of me that wants to dress the part. And so anytime we talk about what our word is today, believe, it's for me it is you know a higher consciousness conversation, or a soul conversation to really tap into how we move and how we operate within our world. And so with that, sometimes like I said, I just try to take on this kind of this spiritual mindset. So I think within this conversation there is going to be a lot of insight. I when I did my U cards for today, I was reminded that I am purpose, I am kind, and my quote for the day was to I think you should just do it. So whatever I am planning to do, my U cards gave me permission to just do it. So with that in mind, this is the time that I bring in one of my friends, and we have a conversation. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So, this is the time where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however feels comfortable to them.
Great. Thanks, William, for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
So let me stop you before you go. Your video has lagged again. So we
Okay.
had that challenge. So I heard your sound perfectly, but your mouth didn't move. So
Okay.
I don't know if we can go out and come back in again, because we had this lovely time in our green room, and now we're back to this again. So let's do that, and then I'll bring you back in just to make sure that you're all synced together.
Go for it.
Okay. Okay, so the wonderful thing about technology is that you don't know when it's going to get in the way of the conversations. So Vince, if you can close out, if you can actually leave the show and then log back in, I think that will kind of restart everything. So if that's something that you can do, I appreciate it. So have you ever had a conversation that you thought started but really didn't yet? And I think that's where we are. And I think I've learned from doing this on a daily basis that there are elements, there are things that come up within the conversations that we want to have, that technology will get in the way, and or something will get in the way, our emotions will get in the way. And and I believe, because that's our word for the day, that it's just an opportunity to see what's more important. And sometimes when I've noticed when things don't go my way, or things don't go the way I think they should go, I get angry, I get disappointed, and all that other kind of stuff. And the more that I'm able to just let that go, and let however it shows up, and what lessons that I need to learn, or what it's revealing about myself, that is it. So if some of you who are just joining, my guest is going to be logging back in, because there was a little syncing issue. And so we're going to try him again.
How about
Vince,
now?
um, it's, let's see, if you say something again, I think we're good.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, we're good, right? Okay.
Awesome.
So now let's introduce yourself however you feel comfortable.
Thanks, William. My name is Vince Bellitto, and I operate in the world as a life, business, and recovery coach. As a life coach, I specialize in trauma integration.
Hmm.
I have a deep history with that in my own world and also working with a lot of people over the last 20 years. I also work with parents and their children to help restore conversation or rebuild a relationship. Usually there's an issue in the family dynamic, and I support the communication and the reconnection and different objectives and goals and other personal goal oriented focuses that people or clients have that I'm working with in the life coaching dimension. As a business coach, I've been coaching coaches. I've been working with larger businesses besides the individual, different companies. Also working as a recovery coach. I'm serving people who struggle with drug and alcohol addiction, and even have worked with clients that have had been diagnosed with various mental health issues.
Hmm.
Combined with drug addiction or not. So that's really been my work since I say the last 8 years. That's really
Hmm.
been my primary focus.
Well, so within that, the framework of that, how does believe land for you?
Yes, believe is a very interesting word. So I think the first thing I'll say about it is that the word believe can have a really positive connotation or a negative connotation.
Hmm.
What we believe in, what our belief is upon or resting upon, can actually have a dramatic difference in
Right.
our lives. For me personally, as a youth, I believed that being a mafia kingpin and a criminal drug dealer was the route that I should go to be powerful in the world.
Hmm.
And that belief grew into a reality,
Hmm.
and I lived that life and nearly died from an overdose in 1999, which was a wake up call for me
Wow.
and had me really questioning my belief, and which was a great thing to do. And I discovered that, you know, uh, what I believed really was rooted and founded on a lot of other people's beliefs, a lot of other people's modeling in my life.
Right. Well, no, I totally get that. I've heard, I don't know if it's Tony Robbins or a number of different other speakers, like, our our actions are an indication of what we believe, right? So
Absolutely.
so if you really want to know what you believe, look at your actions,
Absolutely.
and I think sometimes that's a hard visual lesson, especially for myself. And it's like, because I say I want to do this, I want to do this, and then I see what I'm doing. It's like, oh my gosh, why am I doing something else? And so I think, like you were saying, that there's a positive to a negative aspect to it, and because what I believe and my beliefs kind of forward me. Like I said, it just has my actions. And there are things that on the negative side, I can hold on to a belief that is no longer serving me just because that's what I've been told. That's what that's how it's showing up, and it's something that when I was looking at the word, sometimes I get hooked on just the visual of the word, and right in the middle of believe is lie.
Mm,
And it's like be live, you know, and VE. What I have to figure out what that is. But I think for me, why that hooked me is because there have been a lot of lies that I've held on to because the familiar part of it, and there's the safety within it. But even when I knew it was a lie, and it's like, how can I guess the question that I have, or that is coming up, how can I guess, change my belief, or just kind of move into another way of believing that will serve me?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'll speak to my own experience, just picking
Right.
right back up where I was.
Yeah.
I started to question the beliefs that I had. And
Right.
I think in order to shift from one belief to another, we need to probably question what it is that we're believing and really
Mm.
check its validity and its efficacy in our lives. Like, is it forwarding what it is that I'm really up to right now? I
Right.
think maybe even uncovering what it is we truly believe.
Right.
That might not be a conscious factor for us. What we
Right.
believe can be very deeply embedded, and it shows up in our behavior. It'll show up in how we relate to, especially in our intimate relationships.
Right.
Might say I love you, but then we'll find out that deep down we believe that control and force, or attack is
Right.
really what I must do in order to survive a situation or an interaction with someone that I say that I love.
Right.
And so our beliefs can be they can vary. They
Right.
can actually be contradictory.
Right.
I can believe my wife is the most amazing human on the planet, at a conscious level, but then we have an argument and another belief shows up, and we might
Right.
say things that are like contradicting the "I love you" statement.
Right.
And so I think investigating what we believe by observing our behavior and our experience, um, also the impact that others have on us, says a lot about what it is we really believe about life, people, ourselves.
Right. I totally get that. And I think with COVID-19, I've made a statement, a couple statements on my Facebook posts about, I think what is showing up for a lot of people is that we are now questioning what people believe. We're not questioning people, we're questioning what they believe, because of, let's go to the mask thing again, because that's an easier thing, that people believe that they're safe, or that not wearing a mask, or wearing a mask, is not helpful to them, so they don't wear one. And then there's a judgment then. So there's other people that believe that it is making them safe, or it is, and so they'll wear it. Or they may not believe it, but somebody in authority said it, so they're going to do it. How can we have a belief, or believe something, and then relate to other people in their beliefs? Do you understand? It's like that, managing, what we all believe in, and giving people the grace to believe for themselves.
Yeah, well, it depends on what we're committed to.
Hmm.
Uh, and, our commitment is a structure of beliefs.
Right.
And for me, based on my past experience and living the life I lived and causing the harm I caused,
Right.
and then waking up to realize, like, in my own being, I almost got myself killed through that lifestyle. I finally realized what I was doing to others. I shifted my beliefs radically to one that was like, I want to make a difference for people. I don't ever want to go through that again. And
Right.
I really regret living that life. And, I developed a whole set of beliefs that humanity is important,
Right.
and that I can make a difference, and that I want to make a difference. And so, my beliefs started to move in a direction um, towards love, I
Right.
guess. I actually, here's a good story around belief. But for me, at the early stages of that transition out of that world of crime and drug dealing and, just total corruption, I was looking for answers, but I didn't trust myself because
Mm.
I saw where my beliefs led me.
Right.
And I also didn't want to just believe anybody else randomly. So I got to this place where it's like, I need to know for myself. I need to have experience.
Right.
And I wanted to know, because I had almost died, is like life after death real? Like, I didn't have any experience of that. I had no pulse, I was told. And so I was terrified of that. And I wanted to wake up, you know, out of the nightmare I was living. So I was like, I need answers,
Right.
but I just wouldn't accept anything that I could not verify for myself. So I read a statement that I think goes really well. He said, it was a Zen master. I forget the name. It might've been Shinryu Suzuki. And I don't remember exactly which book it was, but he said, to have knowledge of the absolute, one must have great faith and great doubt.
Wow.
And I really embodied that because I had faith that I could know what life really is about, and like whether, there was a divine aspect to life or not, because I didn't have any faith in that, like, as an experience. And I was not going to just believe anybody's perspective or opinion, spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, but I was studying them. But I was like in a place where I was like, I need to know for myself.
Right.
And within months of like this deep conviction that I'm going to know for myself whether God is real, whether life is, more than just what I see and I know. And within months, I had this profound awakening where I was literally filled with light and recognizing myself as one with the entire universe. I mean, it was just beyond anything I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Wow. I mean, that's really beautiful. But the one thing that's coming up for me is that does it take trauma, because you mentioned your trauma, you have conversations around trauma, to really get to what we truly believe?
No, definitely
No.
not.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure, right? Because it's like,
I mean,
don't
I know a
want
lot.
any more trauma in my life, right?
I know a lot of people that have trauma and they die very traumatically impacted individuals. They haven't really transmuted the trauma, which is a term I use to, confront the trauma and to extract all the good, or to convert it into something wonderful, which I've done with my own life.
Right.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of people relive the past. They're stuck in the past, or the past is preventing them from living into a beautiful future.
Right. And I totally get that. I mean, I think the reason why I asked that question is because there was, a traumatic series of events, I would say a series of unfortunate events, that happened that caused me to be on this spiritual and self-discovery journey. And it's caused me to be here. If you would have asked me before those moments, if I had an awareness of myself, I would have said, absolutely. I could rattle off, a 10-year plan and all the things that I was up to. But after those episodes, I realized, I think like you were pointing to, that it was like everything was in question. It's like, all right, I don't trust myself. I definitely don't trust you, or or the situation. There was just so many things until I had to ask for myself, well, damn, what do I believe? What is still standing here after all of this? And it has really been refreshing to kind of see that there are some core beliefs that were almost dormant because of all the other things that I felt that I had to do, or I wanted to do, all the other labels that were kind of demanding some time for me. And it's that uncovering of what we believe is more a part of, I think that you were saying, the questioning. Just ask the question, and it doesn't have to be, a harsh judgment. It's just ask the question.
Absolutely. You said something about uncovering these core beliefs that might have been covered up by some other people's perspectives, opinions, wants, or desires for you, perhaps, and they were dormant, you said. And, that really, it's beautiful that you said that, because, I believe through my work in this realm that a human being is faith. It's not that we have or possess faith. Faith is something we are. It is a condition of being, not a condition of having. And I think it's important to distinguish that because it makes a huge difference. Because I can believe or have faith in, right, a particular thing, which says that faith is something I cause, that I
Hmm.
am. And my faith or the faith I am has a focus, right?
Hmm.
I am directing my faith or the faith I am into something. And so I think what's important to distinguish, it's like people are like, what religion should I believe in? Or what God should I believe in? Or that's not the question. I think the real question is, are you believing yourself as to be cause, or are you believing yourself to be more effect?
Hmm.
And I think every religion, if you get down to the bottom of it or at the core of it, it is at the central part of where like it may have originated and it actually had true like positive impact in the humans who were, transmitting this and walking in this. I believe that you'll find that there is just this powerful distinction between a human being who is a being of cause
Hmm.
versus a human being who is a being of effect.
Right.
But either way, faith is involved because I can believe myself to be effect. That's the victim story.
Right.
And I can tell that story, but that's the expression of the faith I am in a direction that's contra causation and self-deprecating.
Hmm.
And yet I'm the cause of that self-deprecation.
Right.
And so I think waking up to oneself as cause is really what true faith is, or belief
Wow.
at the core level. We're not talking about belief in ideas or concepts. We're talking about the
Right.
being of faith.
Right. It's no, I think what I'm getting there is I've one of my musings I put the last person that needs to believe is you. Because what I how I was showing up in the world, I was waiting for other people to believe in me, believe that I can do something, believe that I could be successful. And I had many cheerleaders, say that, hey, hey Bill, hey William, you're great. Go out, just do it. But I didn't believe it myself.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I believed, even as soon as I got it, as soon as I embraced that I am just that, just stop right there. Then I can cause, then I could cause things in my life. I could do all the things that a lot of other people that were singing. Um,
I
why,
would say
why,
that's the ultimate belief,
right?
the belief that I am cause.
Right. Why do you think so many of us, or do you think that there is a conditioning to separate us from the power of our belief?
Well, that's a very, it's a question that there's many answers to that. It's
Okay.
not so black and white.
Okay.
I know some people would like to, focus in on that. There are people who are out to separate us on purpose. And, does that exist? Yeah, absolutely. Is it really, is it the government? Is it other nations? Is it the bank system? I mean, whatever it is that people have as a belief about it. Um, all of that still connects back to what I said before, believing that I am more at the effect of
Hmm.
something versus than at the cause of something. The great world leaders who've made the biggest difference in this world in our history or presently that are making a difference are those that see themselves as cause, and they're not worried about who or what is causing the separation so much. They're representing, like Gandhi said, be the change that you wish to see in
Right.
the world. I stand in that. I
Right.
stand that it's not about fighting against whatever powers may be. It's about being the power that I am and representing the potential of human being as an expression of cause,
Right.
right? In full awareness of that I think that's going to make the difference for people. I
Yeah.
don't think governments and other people have control. I think the victim and the oppressor are a codependent relationship.
Right. I got it. Yeah. I think where I am struggling with, and I'll just put it out there, is a saying, is, you know, trust your lying eyes. I mean, there's a lot of things that I see in this world that cause me to believe that this sucks. That
Well,
there.
let me interrupt that, because that's something
Okay.
that you said, that there are things in this world that cause me to believe. Nothing causes you to believe anything.
Okay.
You are your own cause over your beliefs, and that's the problem with human nature, is that we don't realize that we're causing our own perspective. And
Right.
so that automatic programming, that the belief that something out there is causing me or my mindset, that's the loss of power.
Right. No, okay, I get it. So it's all in the language, and I get it.
Yeah.
So let's just say this. I currently believe that when I look at the world and I look at our society, there are things happening that leads me to believe that people are devalued. People, there are winners and losers. There is this fear that overwhelms good, and how can I show up and cause something else to appear? I feel like I I can't cause something else when that's what I see.
Yeah, it's so good that you're using this language. You said leads me to believe again, which is another I'm at the effect of what's happening out there kind of statement. And I get you're representing a lot of people in that the way you're
Right.
expressing this.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, how can I see?
Right.
And really the seeing part is where it's at, because what we see determines how we act.
Right.
If I see oppression and powers over people, and that are, whatever, and bigger than people, I can conclude. I can conclude that there's something that nothing can be done about it. I can conclude that there's something that can be done about it.
Right.
I can conclude that those powers are greater than the people, but I can also conclude that the people are greater than the powers that be over them. Now, for me, I'm just very fortunate. Like I spoke to that experience that I had. I woke up to the fact that I am one with the central cause of the entire existence of life. Like
Right.
I got that is the center of me. What's also interesting is I got in that same experience that it's the center of every human being. And so I just have like a no tolerance for less than cause inside of a human being's life. Though as a human, I still have human mechanics in my own mind, even 20 years ago, having had that experience, where I still fall short of knowing myself as cause in the matter. And I experience myself as a victim. I experience external circumstances as having a negative impact or the potential to stop me in some way. I still struggle or deal with that. But the fortunate thing that I have is an anchor that says, wait a minute, when I start to feel into that and I fall into that and I'm like, I see and experience the loss of power, I bring myself back and I'm like, wait a minute, I am cause over that. And I recenter. And my work with humanity is the same, to wake people up to the central axis of causation they are. And see, that's what's missing from human being.
Right.
And I really, there's a lot of story around whatever, racism, there's story around conspiracy, there's story around all that stuff. And it can really slip really fast into, again, I am at the effect of, humanity's at the effect of, and then we focus on the enemy and we focus on trying to change the enemy that we have believed is the enemy. And what that does is it takes us out from our power.
Right.
And great leaders did not focus on the enemy. In fact, they recognized that there is no real enemy except my own perspective. A Jesus, a Gandhi, a Buddha. They understood that it all happens in here, and that to separate myself from any human being, I mean, Jesus saying, love your enemies, Gandhi being for the unity of the nation.
Right.
He was not about fighting and attacking and opposing, right? Neither was the Buddha
Right. I think,
or
and
Martin Luther King Jr.,
right,
by the way.
right, and I definitely appreciate that, and that we all have that within us to operate in that, to live a life of that. It feels like, I guess it's about my feelings today. I guess I'm in my feelings, right? It's it feels like that I am I'm almost denying what I believe. I feel like if I ignore my eyes or ignore what I see or not speak to what I see, I'm ignoring my understanding of what I see.
That's great. So there's a biblical definition of faith in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 that says, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen.
Hmm. Okay.
So there's a distinction, again, pointing to oneself as cause. It's basically, you can interpret that as saying, hey, look, don't look at your physical circumstances. Don't rely on your physical senses. Why? Because your physical senses can only give you real-time data on what's present. Faith can give you data on what's possible.
Hmm.
And so the people who have created amazing things in this world, they did not focus on circumstance. They did not focus on what's present only. They certainly were aware of it, but their vision transcends. It includes the present circumstances,
Right.
but it looks beyond them, and it creates not, it's not limited by the present condition.
Right.
That's what I did with my own life, right? Drug dealing,
Right.
criminal. And it's like, I had to create a whole new identity for myself out of nothing
Right.
at the
You
age
know,
of 21.
Right. And I believe, from my conversation around labels that, I am my labels and I'm not my labels, right?
Yeah.
Within that, our identity and how we see ourselves and how other people see us, we are all of that. You were a drug dealer and you weren't a drug dealer. And the more that you access the not the drug dealer personality or the identity that you have, the more your life showed up differently. And I think too often, even though there's a practice of living beyond your labels, and it is an ongoing thing. I have to remind myself who I am, right? Which it seems kind of crazy, or maybe not. It is like, this is how I am showing up today. This is what's important, because there are so many things from the news, from my Facebook feed, from my relationships, that it feels like it's inviting me or encouraging me to show up as something that I'm not, or something that I choose not to be, and that's the struggle. Is that just me, or is that you
I
kind of get
spoke,
that?
I spoke to it earlier. I mean, I
Right.
personally still run into that. I think not only do I need to remember who I am, though, like you said, I need to remember who everyone is.
Right.
And if I can't know my enemy as a being of cause, that is the same beautiful core, the same innocent core as me, I can't know my own. And it's really, like, for me, it's crystal clear, because I've been a witness to it. I get not everyone's had this direct encounter of this, like, profound staring down one's own nervous system column and at the very center of my own being, and just like, oh, I am, and
Right.
I always was, and I always will be, right? Like, I got that as a direct encounter, but it was the recognition, like I said, that every human being is the same inside, that humanity fundamentally at their core is good. They're all
Right.
good. Even the most heinous criminal on this planet is essentially pure.
Hmm.
What's impure, what's not quote unquote good or what's harmful is the construct of thought and emotion that has developed in that human being, which is rarely the fault of the human being. There's this idea that humans have free will, but I suggest that no, you actually don't have free will. Not until you've awakened to your own responsibility for everything that's there.
Hmm.
Most people are automatically operating and don't know that they're automatically operating. And so, Jesus said something profound. He said, unless the sun, sets you free, or if the sun sets you free, you're free indeed. Right. But in other words, what does that mean? The one who is born out from cause, God, right? The central axis of all creation, the one who comes out of that space, unless someone who comes out of that space
Hmm.
sets you free, you're not free yet.
Hmm.
You must be awakened to your own causation. Most people live as slaves, believing that they have free will
Great.
while they're reacting and automatically performing. And they don't even remember where all that came from. I had to dig through my history because I had to rebuild myself at 21. So I had to find out why. Why did I end up this way? And I got connected to all my pain, all my trauma, from as early as my birth experience or as in the womb, how my beliefs were being shaped for me. You see,
Wow.
we don't realize that at the age from 0 to 6, we're in a hypnotic state. Our brain waves are identical to what a hypnotic trance looks like, right? We are just completely open and suggestible. And
Hmm.
so our early childhood is one of imprinting and conditioning. And so we're not free when we're running from that. It's
Hmm.
only when we finally break through that imprinting and discover it, right, and take responsibility for it now as a conscious entity that we can start to experience true freedom and have a will that's free, where we can
Right.
act consciously in that choice versus just being the effect of life and reacting to life, which is the majority of the population, right?
Wow. Wow. You've said a mouthful, my friend. I mean, I think I really you've challenged me on the that we're not free, but it kind of um, it kind of sat with me that I believe I get that because a part of my living beyond the labels is what's beyond living beyond our labels is our awareness of choice. Now we can have an awareness of choice and still not make choices, right? And so the only way that we will make choices for our lives beyond our labels is to have a strong understanding of ourselves. And then we're not making choices anymore. We're just living. We're just
Mm.
we're just being. And so maybe I just use different language, but there is this sense that there is an unlearning or a deprogramming or or something, and it sounds horrible, but there is I felt within my traumatic experiences that I became aware of that I was not aware of what I believe or what beliefs were like running the show, what
Exactly.
machines were working because they created a life that would end in trauma, right? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, so it was like, I just got that for myself. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, man.
But so it's that unplugging. It is unplugging, reprogramming. I had, someone on one of my earlier shows, talk about belief, um, re, I forget what it's called. Something about changing your beliefs, reprogramming your beliefs, or something like that. I've screwed it up. I'll put it in the notes. But no, there is, and I think the reason why we get hung up or I cause suffering is because I'm holding on. I'm not letting go. It is like I am going to hold on to this belief, if it kills me, right?
Yeah,
Because that's what, but it's killing me, right? And all I have to do is let go, and it gives me access to something else, something more.
that's really great. The letting go that you're talking about is so, it sounds so simple. And when we get to that point of letting go, it actually is.
Hmm.
But what's difficult for people is how to access the domain where the letting go must happen. And
Right.
that's part of what I've learned to specialize in over all these years of dealing with my own trauma and my own transformation, and then so many other people, is taking people into the area neurologically and biochemically where they recorded whatever belief was there.
Hmm.
So I help people connect in present time to the exact past time experience where the belief was formed emotionally and psychologically, because a belief is not just intellectual, it's not just of the thought space, it's of the emotional space. And so I help people get into confrontation with that, and then to actually embrace that, to fully experience that, and give it permission to have what it's screaming for deep down inside, right?
Right.
And just giving that space to be felt fully and completely, witnessed, acknowledged, accepted. And I call this integrity, the personal integrity of one's own being, where I'm no
Hmm.
longer rejecting an aspect of myself. I'm no longer resisting some memory of something that happened painful in the past, but I
Right.
can be with it now as a conscious entity, and I can bring the love and I can bring the presence and the safety that I did not experience in that past time traumatic event. And when
Right.
we do that in present time, we literally rewire the neurons completely. And we change the biochemical reactions and responses to the brain patterning so that this person who once had past pain or traumatic experience that would react over and over and play out over and over, and they could never let it go, they now are able to, because they're being with it, they're in touch with it.
Right.
Now it can actually be released because now it has been uh, recreated, so to speak.
Right. No, I totally get that. I think we could talk about this for hours, but I'm sure that there are things that what are calling us throughout today. Is there anything that you can like put this in a bow and kind of wrap up this conversation, within, or pull
Yeah.
up your website?
I like Benjamin Harrell's comment. He said, "You have to die to live." I read that Jesus said, "We must lose our life to gain it." That's my own experience and transformation.
Hmm.
I think questioning our beliefs is the beginning of getting true knowledge.
Right.
I think really challenging our own assumptions, being willing to not be right. If you truly want to be truly right, you got to be willing to be wrong about what you think, about what you feel, about how you
Right.
perceive everything, including yourself, others, the world.
Right.
So, yeah. And if anybody's interested in learning more about the work that I do, I've got a few different opportunities to participate in. I have a free men's group and women's group happening both twice a week, Men of Honor Rising or Women of Courage Rising, which can both be found on Facebook. All these can be found at vincebellitto.com. For those who are interested in doing the deep dive work that I do, a 6-week program called the Core Encounter is available. And that's an opportunity for people to actually restructure their whole beliefs, discover what they've been believing, what's been holding them back, totally radically alter that, and have a whole new future ahead of them.
Wow. Now that I just really thank you for that. You know, as I set up the show, there's this felt like, in some cases, it felt heavy but light at the same time to have this conversation around the word believe. And But there's been a liberation and I guess a call for me to just kind of ask those questions.
Yeah.
Ask those questions, and because within those questions will give some answers. So, thank you very much. I'm just going to put you back in the green room for a moment, and then we can
Thanks,
have
William.
our great goodbyes. But
Appreciate you,
no, this
brother.
has been great. I appreciate you, brother.
All right. Take
Okay,
care.
okay. Um, wow. I I really appreciate this, and I think go along with I appreciate it. This has been a great conversation, and and some insight. I think for for me, I felt that I couldn't question what I believe. It's like I either believe it or I don't, and just kind of just move on. And what I got from this conversation is the more that I ask some questions, the more that I will get the answers that I need, so I can have the life that I want, and through the actions, the intentional actions that I have. The world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com.